Late at night, it's me in the morning, late at night.
Calling Jimmy Jones because his shoes got deliver,
Lil,
deliver,
Lil,
deliver,
Lil.
deliver. You go, Whistle. Go.
No, you go.
No.
Why you won't go?
Why you can't go?
I can, but I just would like to know why you won't. Whistle.
Whistle.
I'm Alicia,
I'm Jamie.
and we are the Shooters.
Calling Jimmy John's got them shooters gonna deliver.
This is episode 3 of All Things Lit. Welcome back. If you are new here, welcome. It's a lot going on today, and it's so much going on that the Shooters had to record an episode while they are apart. So if the quality is not up to par, forgive us ahead of time. Aw,
You see the heart?
I do. Forgive us ahead of time because this is our first time doing a remote podcast recording. But it's been a lot going on. Last year, 2024, Drake, he filed his petition. And the petition said all kinds of things. Justin Hunt, the company man, he calls it the, what did he say? The hip hop Rico. It was basically that, and a lot of people were defending Drake, saying he's doing this for the greater good. He's doing this for all of us. He is exposing the dark side of the music industry. He filed the petition. That's what it was about. And then he also ended up adding in the defamation part of the whole thing. Tuesday, he withdrew the petition, basically saying, hey, courts, forget what I said. Just take it back. Don't have time for it. Everybody was in a frenzy at that point, like, oh, now he's backtracking or whatever. Some people were saying that Spotify must have had a sit down with him and had a resolution. Maybe they paid him a little bit of coin. Now, they did have a sit down according to his withdrawal. Him and Spotify did come to some type of something because Spotify stated that they were okay with him withdrawing. UMG, Universal Music Group, who he is signed to, they did not say they were okay with him withdrawing. They did not say that they were not okay with him withdrawing. They did not say anything. And that kind of had some people's hairs raised like, UMG, what y'all got going on? Like, what is it? Well, he didn't withdraw because he was ready to be done with this. He withdrew on Tuesday because he knew that on Wednesday he would be filing not a petition, but a lawsuit. Lawsuit up!
Mm.
And that is what has the Shooters on a remote live stream. I am going to post the lawsuit on the screen for all to see as we go through it and just kind of give our thoughts on what exactly is going on here. Personally, I'm a reader. I enjoy reading things, and I especially enjoy reading things that I'm interested in. I've always been like a
Encyclopedia.
crime law girly. So things like this
Oh.
do interest me. Not an encyclopedia. Things like this do interest me. I will also say that I am nobody's journalist, but I did major in print journalism. So this is not my first time reading through a lawsuit. It's my first time reading through like a real one in real time. But we used to get into it at that Clark Atlanta. I earned my degree. Okay, so the introduction I felt was really good reading. This is probably the only part that I'm gonna like read in full just because it's really some storytelling going on here. It was good. So in the introduction of the lawsuit, you have it pulled up, Shoe?
I do.
Okay, it starts off with a quote. I love this because I'm an author. For all of my synopses, I start them with a quote of a song or a poem or something that I feel like has to do with the rest of the synopsis, right? I start every single one with a quote. They started with a quote because they want you to feel it. They want to preempt you. You know what I'm saying? It said, a single lie can destroy a reputation of integrity and ellipsis. While it takes years to build a reputation, it can be ruined in 5 minutes. Who said this? Sir Lucian Grange. Why is that important? Because Lucian is the CEO of UMG. So it's like I'm just gonna stick this here, you know? But the person who said this is the person I'm suing, essentially, right? I'm just gonna sit that there. Just keep that in mind. You know what I'm saying? Okay, Drake's team, I see you.
Great
Overnight
quote,
on
though.
May. Great quote. Absolutely. It reads, in the middle of the night on May 7th, 2024, an armed group of assailants drove up to the Toronto house in which Drake and his family resided. I think resided is pretty important here. Does he not live at the embassy anymore? Drake was inside. The car stopped in front of the residence. Someone yelled, F Drake, and at least one gunman began to open fire. One bullet went through the security gate and hit Drake's front door. Another bullet struck and wounded a security guard, who was also one of Drake's friends. While the car drove away, Drake and others in the house summoned help for the security guard and did everything possible to keep him alive. During the nearly 30 minutes it took for the ambulance to arrive, Drake and others labored, y'all, to keep the man alive, applying pressure to the gunshot wound with towels. Blood was everywhere. After the security guard arrived at the hospital, surgeons worked quickly to remove the bullet, stop the bleeding, and save his life. Shout out to everyone who worked to save that man's life, because loss of life is never the goal. Let's just keep
It's
that
not.
in mind. It's
It's
just
really not.
never the goal.
That's not what we want.
Everybody deserves to be here for as long as God wants them to be here. Absolutely.
Amen.
It took days for his condition to stabilize. Thankfully, the security guard survived. The very next day, May 8, 2024, a different intruder used his bare hands to dig a hole under the security fence surrounding Drake's Toronto house. He managed to dig deep enough to squeeze through and enter Drake's property. Fortunately, Drake's home security guards caught him before he was able to cause any physical harm. Although the trespasser managed to yell racist slurs and threats, I want to keep that racist slurs and threats in mind, against Drake before being escorted off the property. On May 9th, 2024, the very next day, another break-in attempt happened. In the 2 decades leading up to May of 2024, although Drake was constantly in the public eye, nothing remotely like these things had ever happened to him or his family. But these events were not coincidental. They immediately followed and were proximately caused by UMG's actions leading up to May 4, 2024.
Wow.
Thoughts?
That was a reach. That was like a
Such a good story,
long
though. You can't say it
reach.
wasn't a good story,
I
right?
would say they wrote something. It's you like engaged, you're locked in. But the last line, it kind of feels like a reach to me. It's their fault that somebody broke into my house, and it's their fault that I would like to continue to read to figure out how they decided to tie this together. And if you ever
You
been
would like to
somebody,
continue to read, right? Because it's a
that's the
great
point.
book.
That's the point. You right.
And that's all lawyers do, really, is amazing storytelling.
That's what I was about to say. If you ever been in a courtroom to hear somebody do, is it the deposition? Whenever they like come in and give like they whole pitch.
The opening statement, yeah.
Okay, the opening statement. Then you hear the story that they have written to kind of sway the jury or the judge to empathize or to be sensitive toward their client. I've heard quite a few elaborate stories, and it's like, wow, when you somebody who was there, you know, like more details than what the lawyer is saying. It's like y'all lying, but okay, it sounded good. So I'm
Yes.
just, I know what I feel like I know about this situation now. And it's kind of interesting. I think they did do a good job of telling the story that makes you want to hear more. What I know is like, you reach, you carry, but
Right.
okay.
And that is something to note. The opening and the closing statements of a lawyer's argument, that's the one time that the lawyer gets to get all of their things off, everything they want to say, and nobody can say anything. It's their storytelling
It's
moment.
like, this is the story that we telling. So,
Right.
okay.
So some other things to note in the introduction. I thought it was funny that they said UMG knew that the salacious allegations against Drake were false. I don't think you can really prove in court that someone else knew a certain thing. You can't really say UMG knew that these allegations were false. You can say other concrete statements like I told them they were false.
Mm-hmm.
But he says that they knew they were false. Corporate greed went over the safety and the well-being of their artist being Drake.
Mm.
They said that UMG saw an opportunity and they seized it and continued to fan the flames over a course of several months. So the song in question is none other than Not Like Us, that will be referred to as the recording in this entire lawsuit. They say that the recording was intended to convey the specific, unmistakable, and false factual allegation that Drake is a criminal pedophile and to suggest that the public should resort to vigilante justice in response. They said that Kendrick is Trump. Kendrick has started an insurrection.
Wow.
Kendrick told the public to resort to vigilante type justice. But not Kendrick, though. Not Kendrick, because they make it clear in Section 8 of the introduction. This lawsuit is not about the artist who created Not Like Us.
Mm.
It is instead entirely about UMG, the music company that decided to publish, promote, exploit, and monetize allegations that it understood were not only false, but dangerous. They doubled down several times to say that UMG knew that these things were false. I don't know how in the world you can say what somebody else knew.
You
Because
can't.
I don't know they false.
Man, honestly, UMG is how big? It's not like it's one person.
UMG is, when you think of music, it doesn't matter. Hip hop, pop, country, rock, whatever. Any artist that you know, they are more than likely signed under UMG.
Mm.
And it's like maybe you would say no. My favorite artist is signed to Interscope Records. Interscope is under UMG. So are so many other record labels. So there are big dogs that exist in every industry. And in music, it is definitely Universal Music Group. Notwithstanding its knowledge that these things were fabricated, they waged an unrelenting campaign to spread the recording, the image, and the video. So they refer to the song as the recording, they refer to the cover art of the song as the image, and they refer to the video as the video because they understood that the recording's inflammatory and shocking allegations were a gold mine.
So the video, i.e., that's meaning what the pop out concert they talking about, Not Like Us.
They're talking about the video that dropped on Independence Day.
Okay.
They do talk about the pop out in this thing, but now what I thought was interesting, they talked about how them spreading this song, they call this song the defamatory material. Spreading the defamatory material serves several purposes for UMG. First, the more people who listened, streamed, and watched and downloaded the material, the more money UMG would make. That's first. Second, UMG's Interscope Records. Interscope owns the entire back catalog of Kendrick Lamar's recorded music, and the leadership of Interscope had every incentive to prove it could maximize Lamar's sales after only recently persuading him to enter into his own direct license for a limited recording commitment of new music. What they are saying here, and they go into depth later in the lawsuit, is that Interscope, who is under UMG, they had every incentive to prove to Kendrick Lamar, we can make your music go global, go viral in a short amount of time. What Drake is basically alleging is that Kendrick signed this short agreement so that Interscope, UMG, can prove to him what they can do for him. What can y'all do for me? If y'all can push my music that I drop at this certain time, then I'll sign a long-term deal. And it's alleged in this lawsuit that he signed that deal in December 2024. Meaning, okay, y'all did what y'all said y'all was going to do. I feel you,
This
right?
is insulting. It is the thing. I mean, it's the one word I keep saying, ringing out in my mind around Drake is entitlement. I cannot believe what I'm hearing you say is this man is like, there's no way this artist is as good of an artist as he thinks. Nobody can be better than me. Nobody can beat me. He had to have some help from the label being spread and produced in the way that he was.
Because the label had every incentive to make Kendrick go bigger than Drake.
And to think that
30%.
something as huge as UMG would sit and conspire with an artist to get Drake, it's like, did you really think the whole world revolved around you? Entitled, you're freaking crazy. We're tripping. I'm tired. There's no
So
sense.
yeah,
I mean, the
that's
underlying
essentially
message is just giving very much. My head is in the clouds. It's literally full of air. Everybody wants to be me. Insert clip. What's up? What's that movie
everyone
called?
wants to be me.
I'm quite happy. Everyone wants to be me.
Not
Overboard.
overboard.
Shout out to Goldie Hawn.
This man is like, I can't believe it, to the point that I'm ready to draw 81 pages of a lawsuit to say there's no way that another artist could be this successful based off of this song.
All right.
I'm
And
really
I will say
outdone.
he has good lawyers on his side because the way that they structured it is like the average jury who just has never is not invested at all in hip hop. I feel like will listen to this stuff and say, so Kendrick Lamar, because in courtrooms, a lawyer can say something and it's not ethical what they say, and the other lawyer can object, and the judge can say, jury, disregard that. But I
You
watched
don't hear
Bull.
it though. Mm-hmm.
And every time the the judge on Bull says disregard that, Bull says, but they won't. Because they already heard it.
They heard it. You can't unhear it. That's to note too that he is demanding trial by jury.
He is demanding trial by jury.
Mm,
Okay? So
I can't
he
believe it.
says that UMG had every incentive basically to promote Kendrick over Drake because they are trying to convince Kendrick to stay with them. More streams meant more money for them. And lastly, Drake's contract, the contract he signed in 2022 for $400 million, one of the biggest music contracts in history, was nearing fulfillment. Now, if he signed for 400 mil in 2022, Drake on the streak that he's been on prior to the beef, you would have to offer him more for him to stay with you, right? They are saying that Drake's team is saying that because his contract was nearing fulfillment, and this is, I think, maybe the first time we see it in this lawsuit, but it comes up a lot on information and belief. UMG anticipated that extending Drake's contract would be costly. By devaluing Drake's music and brand, UMG would gain leverage to force Drake to sign a new deal on terms more favorable to UMG. Now, I think it's important to note that on information and belief before moving forward. On information and belief is a legal phrase that means a statement is based on secondhand information and belief rather than first-hand knowledge. It is used to protect the speaker from being accused of perjury. So, in other words, in Jaimsss terms, on information and belief means I had heard this, and I can put it
Mm.
in my lawsuit because I'm saying on information and belief. I didn't say it was true, but on the information that I got and on what I believe, this is what it is. So every time you hear on information and belief in this lawsuit, I just want you to think
It's
of
hearsay.
what I heard was
Mm-hmm.
rumor on the street is okay.
Wow.
So I just want to say that because a lot of the things in the lawsuit are on information and belief. So he believes that UMG anticipated that his extending his contract would be costly. So they're like, let me devalue his music so that he can't ask us for more than 400 mil. UMG's campaign was successful, according to part 10 of the introduction. The recording closed cleverly, dangerous lyrics behind a catchy beat and an inviting hook. Capitalizing on attributes, UMG used every tool at its disposal to ensure that the world would hear that Drake, quote unquote, like him young. All right. This material has been played billions of times and its false central message has gone viral. I feel like in clause 11, we get into his real issue. He says, but billions of plays and ubiquity were not enough for UMG. They have made significant financial investments and leveraged its professional connections to arrange for the recording to be performed at one of the most significant and viewed cultural events of the year, the Super Bowl. This is the real issue. We're getting too close to February 9th. We gotta get this. We gotta nip this in the bud. We can't give him the opportunity to play this song on February the 9th. This is where we get into the nitty gritty of the real issue you have. You do not want that song played on a global stage. And he is saying that Kendrick only got the Super Bowl because of UMG's significant financial investments and professional connections. Kendrick didn't get the Super Bowl because he has created 4 classic albums and has proved time and time again that he's an amazing performer who can put on a show for the ages. He did not get the Super Bowl because he had an outstanding year and they already have prior knowledge of what he can do on the Super Bowl stage because he made his 90 seconds mean something at the Super Bowl he's already performed at. Even though we have prior knowledge, the most recent Super Bowl, Usher didn't get the Super Bowl solely because of the span of his career. He got it because of what he's shown us he can do in his career, because of his amazing catalog, and because Usher had an amazing 2024 and 3 with his residency. He was the talk of everything with his performance in Las Vegas. Usher didn't get it just off of whatever. He got it for a reason. He had a great year. He's a great performer, and we know that. And he's hot right now. Everybody's loving him of every demographic. So let's put him on the stage. Kendrick has had a similar year. People from all types of backgrounds, all demographics, have been listening to different songs from this rap beef, have been diving deep. And then when you go even further and you look at his previous performances, he's an amazing entertainer. So he's a great option for the Super Bowl. But those are not the reasons he got the Super Bowl. He got it because UMG put money in the right hands and they used their connections to get him that gig so that Not Like Us can be played on a global stage. Mind you, the Super Bowl, the NFL is very particular. Y'all see, they own Beyonce right now about doing the gunshot hand signal on the parts that her song do the gunshots. They are very particular. They probably will say to him anyway that he cannot perform certain lyrics to certain songs, but he doesn't even need to. He can do Not Like Us chorus and everybody will sing it and that'll be what it is. But Drake is so scared of this song. And I will say, so many people on Twitter, not so many people, a few people on Twitter have already said Drake's so worried about him doing Not Like Us, like it's not a euphoria that exists. Like it's not a Meet the Grams that exists. Having the whole stadium say, I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk, I hate the way that you dress. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Just as embarrassing. But let's keep going. He also mentioned in the introduction that the defamatory material has been streamed so many times on different platforms like TikTok and Instagram. All right. He also mentions, and I thought this was funny, he also mentions how Kendrick notes in Euphoria, don't tell a lie on me and I won't tell the truth about you. So he's basically saying Kendrick preempted that anything he says after this song is the truth. It is not hyperbole. It is not art. It is not metaphors. It is the truth. And people believed him.
Just because Kendrick said it. Not because there's any other supporting evidence. Just because Kendrick said it. And
Kendrick said, don't tell a lie on me and I won't tell the truth about you. So that means that every song Kendrick released after he said that is not considered art anymore. It's considered prose. It is what he said, what he meant, and he is making stone cold naked allegations.
My God. What's happening here? And I might be going a little sooner than I'm supposed to because we're not done with the points. But we are seeing a narcissist self-destruct in real time. But we can talk about narcissism in a minute. But it's all there. All the signs are giving. Put Drake on a watch of some sort because his world is shattering.
Correct.
It's a very dangerous time for him.
It
Matter of
is.
fact, pray for Drake.
All right, so this next part, I think it was important to note that Drake says that he fears for the safety and security of himself, his family, and his friends. After the attacks on his home, Drake pulled his son out of elementary school that he attended in Toronto, Canada, and he relocated them. Day to day, Drake continues to take steps to address persistent threats to his security. Let's pause there. I just want to note a couple things about that. He said that nothing like this had ever happened to him before, May 2024. I did not look it up to be able to quote it specifically at this time, but I do know that there was a time where Odell Beckham Jr. was staying at Drake's house and a super fan broke in. So people have gotten into the embassy before. Something like this has happened. I think it's also important to note that before Drake's shooting, The Weeknd's manager, had a shooting take place at his home. After that, Drake's shooting happened. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. All I'm saying is that these shootings happened and that Drake and his beef was with more than just Kendrick.
Mm-hmm.
Him and The Weeknd had problems. Someone shot at The Weeknd's manager's house. Fast forward, someone shot at Drake's house. Not saying that The Weeknd shooting and Drake's shooting has anything to do with each other. I'm just saying that trying to put this in a court of law, these are things to be considered. You beefing with a lot of people in the industry at this time. Rick Ross got beat up in Canada right after playing Not Like Us. Does he get to sue you for that? He got assaulted in Canada.
Even the line in the lawsuit about Drake liking them young, wasn't it just the other day we was listening to the lyrics or reading the lyrics to Nice for What, and how he mentioned in the song talking about high school pitch was even bad then. In our last episode, we clearly see Drake enjoying and confessing to enjoying his as far as I'm concerned, molestation of a 17-year-old on stage during a concert and telling everybody. Like, I don't know if I should have liked that as much as I did, but I did.
What exactly did he like? We don't know. Oh, wait. Yes, we do. He told us he loved the way her breast felt against his chest.
After she said she was 17.
Now, does that technically make him a pedophile? No, because that state, I think the age of consent was
17.
16?
It was
17.
17. However,
But
Drake's comments on it definitely created the idea that he knew it was inappropriate. I can't go to jail yet. I don't think I should have liked that as much as I did, blah, blah, blah. If you missed our last video, go check it out. The clip is in there. And he was very well aware that the child was younger, that the child was a child. And we didn't talk about this in the last video, but even within that, there was a clear power dynamic at play right there. She is 17 on stage in front of all these people and in front of Drake. And he takes advantage of her being on stage to just do what he want to do real quick to entertain everybody in the audience, but do what he want to do with her body. He said it wasn't all right and then proceeded anyways. Just saying. Even with the comment with SZA, and this might be a far reach, but he mentioned at one point that she was 18 whenever they started talking, or 17?
he mentioned the year, and it was '09. And in '09, she would have been, or he said '08. In '08, she would have been 17. She clarified to say it was '09, meaning she was 18.
18. Why? This, like I said, it's a reach, but was it more attractive to you in your brain that she might have been 17? I don't know. Just saying. Regardless, she was fresh meat, and that's how I see that situation.
Just saying. And SZA gave him a lot at that time. She said she think he only said '08 because it rhymed with his bars. He just needed his stuff to rhyme. He saved him there.
There's
Good.
other,
I mean,
and
whatever.
again, we don't necessarily need Kendrick to tell us anything. He put some lines in his songs, and anybody can go on the internet and go find the supporting evidence, supporting material themselves, which is exactly what we did.
And UMG should watch this video because UMG, go back to when everyone was saying Kendrick didn't even come up with those thoughts himself. He just put a bunch of tweets and TikToks together and DMX sentiments to make his songs. Which I agree. When it came to I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk, I hate the way that you dress, I definitely think that was DMX coded.
I hate him. I don't like him.
Definitely. And y'all were trying to say that he was not original, but on the same token, he wasn't original in making up these allegations. Y'all have been saying them.
The point in bringing that up,
He put them on a song.
it's so funny to me too, because in one breath, before the beef happened and before Drake was annihilated, Kendrick's a nobody according to him. He's not even, he's just not even to be respected as an artist. That's how Drake was kind of coming at it in the beef, like, this is nothing, I'm about to body him real quick and going on about my business. Now it's Kendrick was so powerful that he could put thoughts in our heads like listeners can't think for themselves. Number one, he's so powerful that what you said that he basically started a riot once upon a
I was
time.
comparing it to the Trump insurrection when Trump
Right.
literally told people stand up and they went and raided the Capitol. That is what this lawsuit is painting the picture of. Kendrick said this in a song, and what did they say? He incited like vigilante behavior.
Ridiculous. It's crazy to me how the narrative can change because Drake lost. You lost.
Stop playing with me for I turn you to a song. He been telling y'all for years.
You ain't saying it. If it
Also
wasn't
said,
nothing out there that supported any of the allegations that Kendrick put in metaphors, in verse, because honestly, it's all open for interpretation. But if it wasn't,
literally, and we're gonna get to that too. It's literally all open for interpretation. It's all open to figure out who he's even talking about. But okay,
that's all I'm
okay.
saying. And I literally just Googled Not Like Us to see if he mentioned Drake specifically. He does say his name at some point.
We're
But
gonna get to
okay, we'll get to that then. Just saying, y'all should be insulted because Drake trying to say that y'all can't think for yourselves. You needed Kendrick to tell you what to think and what to do after that. I'm insulted.
he's insulting y'all.
I
He
know.
ain't insulting me because I know what I felt before, during, and after, and I know the same in the same way. There were things that we knew in our heads about R. Kelly that we knew,
Mm-hmm.
but you still like them songs, and the courts found him not guilty. So we just went along with, okay, maybe he innocent. But then when the facts being laid out in your face and you really got to think about it, okay, it is true. He was on that video doing that on that 15-year-old.
It's all right there. You can't ignore it when
The
it's right
court
there.
didn't make it up. I
Mm.
mean, the documentary didn't make it up. They just put it
It's a
here.
video. It's just a
And
clip
I
right there.
watched it and I reflected on what I already knew and said, okay, it's time to stop acting like
Stop
I
pretending.
just gotta listen to this music. It's time to mute R. Kelly. And
The
I made that
glass
decision for myself.
around Drake has been broken. And that is why he is spiraling, which is consistent with the behaviors of a narcissist, of a person with narcissistic personality disorder. It's consistent. But again, I
Hmm.
don't know where the space for that is, but we'll get into it.
There are so many points that I highlighted, but I think the video gonna end up being too long. We probably gonna have to stop and start again and then do like a part one, part two. But I do want to say in this one, still in the introduction here, he says UMG may spin this complaint as a rap beef gone legal, but this lawsuit is not, and they underscore not, about a war of words between artists. This lawsuit involves no claims against Kendrick Lamar or any other artist. Meaning, rappers can rap. We have no problem with rappers rapping. It's just that UMG, when I tell you with my biracial behind, when I tell you don't publish it, don't publish it. Okay. So he said the lawsuit involves no claims against Kendrick Lamar or any other artist. Instead, it is about UMG, the publisher and exclusive rights holder of Lamar's music, as well as Drake's, and its malicious decision to publish and promote through covert means, false allegations about Drake that UMG knew were false, explosive, inflammatory, and certain to result in both vitriol and substantial harm to Drake's reputation. Because UMG knew that. They knew that's what was going to happen from promoting both of their artists' music.
I was just about to say, how in the world are they gonna stand up in a courtroom and be able to defend this as if UMG does not have a job to do as Universal Music Group to support and promote their artist music, period? How you gonna go in there and say this and make it so that UMG was not doing what they do as a label? How you gonna
They
say
are
them folks ain't
publishing.
in there doing what they doing as a label and doing what they supposed to do as a label? How you gonna say Kendrick ain't doing his job as a rapper? This man raps. Okay. He did that. And the label pushes music. Period. How is that wrong, sir? How you gonna sue me for doing my job? It's the same energy he had when he was mad at Kendrick for dropping, was it the verse? I want to say it was the Monster Freestyle verse, but it's one of them verses.
Control.
dropping the Control verse at the same time his album came out and it being overshadowed by the Control verse. No, I'm a rapper rapping. I was not tracking your schedule. I was not keeping up with what Drake is doing and when Drake is doing it and waiting on Drake to give me permission to do what I do. Rappers rap, and that's what I was doing. You're
That's what I
mad.
was.
Because you're
I
mad.
said I said your name and 15 other rappers' name, however many he said. And that would be the part that get me about Control every time. He said a lot of people before Drake and a lot of people after
Right.
Drake. Jay, you is one rapper in that whole song.
Who's
Anyway,
wounded? Just give this whole thing is giving hit dog. They're gonna see me now. UMG, stop this. I don't want it out. They're gonna know. All these things are a little too close to home. I want y'all to get involved. Save me.
Kendrick Lamar made you think about it, but he is not your savior. Information and Belief from
Oh God.
2012 to 2023, Kendrick Lamar was signed to an exclusive production company agreement with Top Dog Entertainment, which in turn furnished his exclusive recording services to the Aftermath recording imprint. So Aftermath, Dr. Dre's label, is an imprint of Interscope, which is under the UMG umbrella. At the time that Kendrick got on Dr. Dre's radar, he started talking to Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre started talking to him. He wanted to sign him. And so then it's like Top Dog Entertainment is their own independent label or whatever. And what they do is get deals for their artists through other avenues. And so Kendrick was a TDE artist, but he was able to get this deal through Aftermath, which is an imprint of Interscope. So he was signed to TDE. He was signed to Aftermath. So basically, he signed to Aftermath through TDE, and through Aftermath, he's under the Interscope umbrella. These songs during the disc that he dropped didn't have Aftermath or TDE on them. They only had PG Lang and Interscope UMG on there. So, because of that, on Information and Belief, Interscope convinced Kendrick, just go out on your own, do this, and we're going to do this for you. Kendrick signed a new short term. This is on Information and Belief. In
I.e.
2023,
what I had heard was
In 2023, having fulfilled his recording obligations to TDE and Aftermath Records, Kendrick Lamar signed a new short-term exclusive recording and licensing deal with UMG through Interscope, an exclusive publishing and administration agreement. Through these contracts, UMG exclusively controls the release, the publication, and licensing of all music products by Kendrick Lamar, including the defamatory material that is not like us. On Information and Belief, Lamar signed a short-term deal with UMG to see if UMG could prove its value to him, to promote him more effectively than any other music company could in a compressed time frame, which is what I was saying earlier. On Information and Belief, UMG had to prove to Kendrick, y'all can really hype me up in a short amount of time, i.e. a beef. And if y'all can do that, I will sign a long-term deal.
just to your point about the biggest artists, some of the biggest artists in UMG, one of them being Drake. Why in the world would they do that? Like, why would that make sense? Why would they bet on Kendrick to have an agreement like that?
Why would they bet on Kendrick? Because Kendrick is a hip hop artist. Drake is pop, hip hop, and anything else he wants to be. Why would they not bet on Drake to win the beef so that he can continue doing what he's been doing, which is releasing album? He says in this lawsuit somewhere, he's released 8 albums within whatever. They Kendrick's not reliable like that. They don't know
Mm-mm.
when Kendrick gonna feel inspired. Kendrick waits 5 years before he released something. He had an active year in 2024, but who's to say he's not gonna go ghost after his tour? It's exactly what he did last time he had a tour. Went ghost for years. Kendrick ain't reliable. He's not consistently making them money. Why would they ever
Why
bet on
would they
that
bet
horse?
on Kendrick? Why would they sit down and conspire against one of their bigger artists in like within the label?
Now, what I do think they did is they saw how big Not Like Us became and they hyped it. They got into it. They zeroed in on it because
Mm-hmm.
of the hype it already had. But I don't think they conspired to devalue Drake at the beginning of this beef. So yes, he also mentions that UMG contracts provide UMG the power to prevent any release of anything. So they basically feel like they should have said, no, you can't release that one. Take the offensive lyrics out and then go back. Now, then we get into, we're on page 22, and we get into their lyric breakdown, which I love because I love lyric breakdowns. And this one is just
Laughable.
so thought provoking.
I would like to say real quick though, there are 27 statements of on information and belief in this article or in this document.
27. I'm so glad you counted it. And
Well,
that's why
I
we
did
need
a Google.
Shooter to do her math thing.
This would be a Google file search. However, comma, I did hold the button down to find it. Control F.
It's just important to note every time the sentence starts with that because there are times in the document that it doesn't say information and belief. And that leads me to believe, okay, we got something that might be evidence to be entered. So he goes on to mention how many times Not Like Us has been streamed, both the recording and the video, all of this stuff. Then we get into a lyric breakdown. And I'm thinking maybe we should stop and come back.
So we're going to wrap it up right here and then come back for part 2 for the lyric breakdown.
The Drake lawyer team lyric breakdown.
Not Rap Genius.
Stay tuned.
Shooters out.
Calling Jimmy John's got them shooters gon' deliver.